So with Unreal Studio being announced, this is a great time to get to know Unreal Engine and its powerful graphic capabilities in real time. And I know already that there are quite a few documentation pages on the Epic's website about Datasmith and Unreal Studio, and pretty much everything you have to know about it to start using it. But I believe it's really important to have different tutorials, different starting points and views about how to use a tool to get to know it better. So I'm sharing with you my workflow. The workflow I've used to bring from 3ds Max to Unreal Engine this scene that you are seeing. This is a never motion scene. So I'll show you a little bit my workflow, the settings that we'll find important in this scene. Although I won't go into detail on how to get this kind of materials and illumination, that's out of the scope of this tutorial. But let's close this and let's go directly to our Epic launcher, where you'll need to be subscribed, obviously, to Unreal Studio. As you can see here, I've got it active, so you have to be subscribed by paying if you're watching this video after the release, or by just a free subscription if it is still in beta. And once you do that, from the engine you will probably see this thing here, where you will have your exporter for 3ds Max. We are doing this for 3ds Max. Your importer for the Unreal Engine, for obviously Datasmith. And I believe it's optional. I'm not sure if you will have it by default, the Substance plugin, but I had it before, so I have it now. But what we need is these two part of the two parts that make up the Datasmith plugin. If you are watching this before the release of a 4.19 version of the engine, keep in mind that Datasmith release with Unreal Studio will probably only use 4.19. So as you can see, I have the stable release of 4.18.3, which is the latest release, and I have the preview of the 4.19. So keep in mind, you might have to download this if you have not already. So let's start from installing it really fast. First thing you have to do you have to download the exporter by clicking here, and it will redirect you on your browser to this page, where scrolling down you have the download button for 3ds Max. As you can see, there is SketchUp being programmed, and I don't know honestly what else. But for now you can only have the 3ds Max version. So after you download it, you will have an installer. You have to obviously execute it, and the installation is pretty simple. He will find out, Datasmith will find out which version of 3ds Max you have, and it will be installed on that version. Then once you've done that, you will have automatically in 3ds Max, and the Unreal Engine part, this one, should be already present in the engine. But if it is not, you just have to click here. In this case, it is telling me that the plugin is already installed in every version of the engine that is compatible with. So you should have the screen that tells you where do you want to install, which version of the engine, what do you want to install Datasmith. You will tell for 19 and it will just install it very quickly. So once you have Datasmith and the importer and the exporter for 3ds Max, we can go to our scene. You can see I have my scene modeled with all the materials and the lighting already ready to be rendered. And what we have to do is to, without even selecting anything, we just go up here to 3ds Max and we do export. It will ask us where do we want to export our output. In this case, I'll just make up a folder here on the desktop. And I will call the file Datasmith. Doesn't matter, whatever you want. And this is very important, the fundamental step. And on Save As Type, we open the menu, and you can see down here, Unreal Datasmith, point U Datasmith. This is what we want to select to have our scene exported for Datasmith. Once we've done that, we just press Save. It will ask us if you want to export visible objects or only the selection. I have nothing selected on viewport, as you can see, so I will keep visible objects and it will export pretty much everything. And I will give it OK. It's quite fast. You can see it down here, but there's a bar, a percentage bar telling you how much has it exported already. And once it reaches 100%, we can keep going. Once we are done exporting it, you might have a few errors like these ones, but if you did your homeworks, you won't, because this is the result of an unoptimized scene, like this one that I just took as it was and exported it. So this was not meant to be imported into Unreal, and this is the cause for all these errors. So always keep in mind that you have to optimize that as described in Epic's documentation, because it will make your scene look better and feel better when you go around in it. And but for now we don't really care about this, because as I shown you, it comes out good even with them. But in another scene, maybe they might even be broke it up. So always optimize it. This is just a quick test, so I didn't. But always optimize it. That's very important. So let's close up 3ds Max and let's go back to our Epic launcher, and from here we will start our engine from our version, and we will get this window here. We go on new project, and as you can see here, we have a tab called Unreal Studio, and if we click here, we have two templates. One is blank, but it really isn't, meaning it has the Datasmith plugin already active inside the engine, which saves a few steps. And the product viewer that I never use, honestly, but we won't need it for this scene because this is a fixed camera, as you can see. So we will go with blank. You just create the project, and once you've done it, it will open up like this. What we have to do now is to import our stuff. So we got a quite blank scene. As you can see, it's already quite good, and I usually remove a few of this stuff, like the fog and the floor, obviously, and I just leave the sky sphere, the directional light, and skylight, the atmospheric light. So once we've removed everything, we have up here, as you can see, import Datasmith. By clicking on this little arrow here on the side, you can even import a CAD, but I never tried that. So we will go obviously with import a uDatasmith file, because what we exported wasn't a CAD. And once we click that, it will ask us where to find our file. So I saved it on the desktop inside this folder. And as you can see, we have a folder with all the assets and uDatasmith file. We will need only this one. This stuff is all stuff, we can see it now, but it is all stuff that the plugin needs. But what we need is only the uDatasmith file. So we press open, and it will ask where to save our stuff. So we will create a new folder. We will call it imported, and give it OK. And we will get this little window. So as you can see here, it is asking us which kind of assets we want to import. That is geometry, materials and textures, lights and cameras. We are importing actually everything right now. So select, be sure that everything is checked. And by pressing this little arrow down here, we will have another few options. The minimum light map resolution and the max light map resolution. Now, to explain this, usually if you are used to Unreal Engine, if you work with it before and know how it works, you know what these are, and it is useless to explain it, the minimum light map resolution and the light map resolution, rather than max light map resolution. And if you are new, well, you should probably go and have a little bit more practice with it, if you don't really know what this means. But if you just want to go further, I'll usually use the 128 on the first one, and the 256 on the second one. Again, I won't explain what this means, because you should know it if you are using Unreal Engine, and if you don't, you should go look how the lighting works in Unreal, which is out of the scope of this tutorial, so I won't explain it to you, even because it will take quite a lot of time. So really go see if you don't know what these are. Once we've selected this option, we go on import. And here we are with our scene, and it is extremely ugly. As you can see, it's quite horrible to see. It is broken, the lighting is awful and everything, but we will fix that. As you can see on our content browser, which is where we store our assets, we have under our imported folder, we have our Datasmith folder with geometries and materials and textures and everything you need, plus a Datasmith file. Don't delete it. We'll go back to our scene, and well, we are having quite a few problems. First of all, it is the lighting. This scene used a lot of area lights, and we can see absolutely nothing from inside our room right now, because light is just too strong. So we have two options here. We can build lighting and see how it comes out, or what I usually do is to delete everything that concerns lighting, because unfortunately Unreal doesn't implement already things like area lights and those sort of things that are really used on V-Ray. And so I usually just delete everything that is sun or the sun or the area lights and everything. So let's do that first, because we know that these things here cannot get good even by building lighting. So we will delete everything from here down to here at least. Okay, and you can already see the difference is huge. This, I believe, is supposed to be the sun when we delete it, because we already have our directional light. It was a point light, so I don't know why. And we have our scene that is pretty well, almost fixed. We got to take all these fine little guys. Maybe let's see. I believe it's faster to do it like this. That's quite odd. We can select it all at once, which is odd. I can't see absolutely anything. Let's see. Okay, looks like I can select them, but as you can see down here we have a really high value. We don't want that, so let's give it something like 150 just to start. Maybe we can select more of them, but yeah, okay, we can select more of the one, but it doesn't show it. So I guess it might be a glitch. But okay. What matters is that we get a better value that doesn't blind us, and it's already much better. And then we are left with these ones. We just go select them and give them 150 to these two, and then we have these. Okay, they are supposed to be the glass. But they don't have the glass material, so we don't really, well, yeah, we could delete them, because now I don't want to make up a glass material just to apply it, so we will just delete the glass windows. Once we've done this, as you can see, one of the main problems I noticed with Datasmith is that the materials are really glossy or low roughness, as a PBR workflow is used to. And if we open one of these materials, you can see that our specular value is this long chain of nodes that has no reason to be, honestly, because when we talk about specular in Unreal Engine and in PBR, physical based rendering in general, well, specular is a value that is very rarely modified, because it follows a physical accurate value that is already in the engine itself, so we can delete all of these except the texture, because they just shouldn't exist. And we will leave the specular tool as it is, and yeah, the roughness problem, you might just want to, maybe, I don't know, multiply it for something, delete the desaturation node, multiply the roughness for, I don't know, 2.5, and you will already see it gets much better, or even 2, yeah, and apply the result. You will probably have to do this for most of the materials. For example, here, this one, as you can see, it is very, very glossy too, and probably, as you can see, yeah, this wood too is very, very glossy, and all this stuff. Once we have pretty much fixed these problems, we can give it a building to see in preview quality, to see if it comes out any good. Here we are, and as you can see, we have an overlapping UV that always is that part of the Unreal Engine I won't explain here. But the first of the two values that we set when importing the minimum light map resolution should give you much less of these errors. So that was one reason to give it that value, 128. And well, we can close this, and as you can see, the scene is still quite ugly, but at this point it is all stuff that you start to modify to get it good, to get it to look as you want to, and so that really goes beyond the scope of this video, because it is getting quite long too, I believe. And we can pretty much say that we are done. We have our scene, although it is not as we would want to get it, but then from here on it is all working on the Unreal scene. So materials, as you've seen, you just delete the specular part of it and you tweak it as you need it. Yeah, lighting, keep in mind what looks good. Usually delete area lights and delete some things like the sun or those kind of things, because Unreal has its own stuff for it. And this is pretty much how Datasmith works. It is much faster than before, and I hope they will improve it with materials. I hope they will improve light and all those stuff that will make it look great. Keep in mind that if you don't see a texture, like in this case, as you can see, we don't have the texture here. It is the default of the Unreal texture. It doesn't mean you didn't import it. So if you go on the content browser and under textures, you will see it should be something like one of these two, even either the child or the other child. And so don't re-import them, because you probably have them. And I believe yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope it was useful. If you didn't get something, just let me know. If you want to know something more, you let me know, and have a good day.